Stop whatever you were doing. Seriously, if you have a patch of ground, a raised bed, a few containers on a patio, or even a single pot sitting in a sunny spot, what I'm about to tell you is worth more than anything you will spend at a garden center this entire season. It is July, and right now, at this exact moment, most gardeners across America are making one of the most expensive mistakes in home gardening without even realizing it is a mistake. They think the planting season is over. The tomatoes are in, the zucchini is growing, the beans have been harvested, and somewhere in the back of their mind, they have quietly decided that the next time they will plant anything is next April. So the beds sit, empty, bare, wasted, weeks of perfect growing conditions going unused every single day. Here's the thing those gardeners do not know, and the thing that separates an average backyard garden from a truly productive one. July soil is the warmest it will ever be all year. A seed that took 14 slow, cold days to crack open and sprout in April will push through the surface in 4 or 5 days right now. The ground is primed, the days are still long, and 15 vegetables are sitting in nurseries and seed packets right now, waiting. Vegetables that will go from seed to your kitchen before the first frost takes everything. Some of them are ready to eat in 3 weeks. One of them, number 15 on this list, has a hard deadline. Miss this planting window by even 2 weeks and it will not have enough time to mature. But if you plant it right now, this week, not next week, it will be sitting on your Thanksgiving table in November, fresh from your own backyard while everyone else is reaching for a freezer bag. 15 vegetables, 15 reasons your garden is not done yet. Let's go through every single one of them. Number 1. Cucumbers. Here is something most gardeners experience but never think to solve. By mid-July, the cucumber plants they put in the ground in May are done. Powdery mildew has covered the leaves. The vines look rough. Production has slowed to almost nothing. Most people accept that and move on. The move that changes everything: plant a fresh round of cucumbers right now. July soil germinates cucumber seeds in 4 to 6 days, faster than any spring planting. And a fresh plant that goes in now hits its production peak in September, when the heat of August has broken, disease pressure is lower, and cucumbers taste crisper and more flavorful than anything they produced in the heat of summer. Most varieties go from seed to harvest in 60 to 70 days. Plant today, cucumbers on your counter by mid-September. The one thing that separates productive cucumber plants from struggling ones: grow them vertically. A trellis, a fence panel, bamboo poles, anything that takes the vines off the ground. Vines on the ground sit in stagnant air. Powdery mildew finds those conditions and spreads fast. Vertical vines get airflow around every leaf. The disease cannot get a foothold. The fruit hangs in open space, visible, easy to find, picked at the right size before it ever turns bitter. One July planting, grown vertically, fresh cucumbers straight through September.
Number 2. Zucchini. The squash vine borer is the reason so many American gardeners have given up on zucchini. The moth lays eggs at the base of the stem in late spring and early June. The larvae hatch and tunnel into the vine from the inside. The plant wilts, it collapses, it is gone. And it looks like a disease, not a pest, which is why most people never figure out what happened. Here is the timing that changes everything. In most northern and midwestern U.S. regions, zones 5, 6, and 7, the vine borer moth completes its primary egg-laying cycle by late June and early July. A zucchini plant that goes into the ground now, in July, misses that window entirely. By the time the plant is large enough to be vulnerable, the moth has moved on. Seeds germinate in 4 to 7 days in warm July soil. First fruit appears in 40 to 50 days. Southern gardeners in zones 8 and warmer, vine borers in your region can have 2 generations per year, so row covers over young plants for the first 3 weeks give you the same protection. Harvest at 6 to 8 inches. Every time you pick, the plant pushes out 2 more. Every time you leave one to grow past that size, production slows. One July plant, managed correctly, produces through late September.
Number 3. Bush beans. Most gardeners plant bush beans once in spring, harvest them through June, watch production slow, and assume that is just how beans work. It is not how beans work. It is how one planting of beans works. Bush beans planted in July germinate in 8 to 10 days in warm summer soil, faster than any spring sowing. They reach harvest in 50 to 55 days. That puts fresh beans on your table in September, when cooler temperatures bring out a sweetness and tenderness in the pods that summer beans never quite have. For July germination, one thing matters more than anything else: keeping the seed moist until it sprouts. July heat dries the top inch of soil fast, sometimes within hours of watering on a hot afternoon. A thin layer of straw mulch over the seeded row holds that surface moisture in without blocking the seeds. Check the bed once a day. The moment seedlings break the surface, pull the mulch back slightly to give them light. That single habit is the difference between reliable July germination and a bed that never comes up.
Number 4. Radishes. Radishes have a reputation for being sharp and bitter, and that reputation comes almost entirely from 2 problems that are completely avoidable. The first is bolting. Radishes are triggered to bolt, to send up a flower stalk, by a combination of heat and long days. A radish planted in early July is maturing during the longest, hottest days of summer. The result is a pithy, hollow, aggressively bitter root. The fix? Plant radishes in the second half of July. Seeds planted around July 20th or later are maturing in August and September, when both temperatures and day length are shortening. Cooler maturation means sweeter, milder, crispier radishes. The second problem is leaving them in the ground too long. Most radish varieties are ready in 22 to 28 days. Past that window, they go hollow and intensely hot within a matter of days. Check the seed packet for days to maturity. Mark the date on your calendar, pull them on time. A radish pulled at exactly the right moment, crisp, bright, with just a gentle heat, tastes nothing like anything that comes in a plastic bag. It is a completely different vegetable.
Number 5. Lettuce. Lettuce has a built-in limit. When air temperatures consistently push above 80 degrees, most lettuce varieties shift from making leaves to making a flower stalk. The leaves flood with bitter compounds. The plant is done. This is called bolting, and it is the reason most American gardeners give up on summer lettuce entirely. But there is a solution that works, and it does not require special seeds or expensive equipment: shade. Lettuce planted where it gets afternoon shade, under a tomato cage, along a taller crop, beside a fence that blocks western sun, experiences soil temperatures 10 to 15 degrees lower than lettuce baking in full summer sun. That temperature buffer is often enough to keep the plant in leaf production mode instead of bolt mode. At your local garden center, look for seed packets labeled slow bolt or heat tolerant. These are widely available at most stores and are bred specifically to hold up longer in summer conditions. Plant in a shaded spot. Choose a slow bolt variety. Harvest the outer leaves while leaving the center intact. The plant keeps producing new leaves from the inside out for weeks from a single planting.
Number 6. Carrots. Carrots are the most complained about July planting in America, and almost every complaint traces back to the same cause. Carrot seeds are tiny. They sit in the top quarter-inch of soil. In July heat, that surface layer dries out completely within hours of watering. The seeds desiccate before they can sprout. Gardeners water, nothing comes up. They assume they did something wrong. They replant, same result. Here is the fix. After sowing carrot seeds, lay a single piece of burlap or a wooden board directly over the seeded row. That covering holds moisture in the top layer of soil through the heat of the day. Check underneath every morning. The moment tiny green sprouts appear, remove the covering immediately so they get full light. This one step takes carrot germination in July from frustrating and inconsistent to reliable. For July planting, choose Danvers or Nance varieties. They are shorter and stockier than longer types and push through average summer soil without needing the deep, perfectly loose channels that larger varieties require. Plant now, harvest sweet, cold weather-kissed carrots in October and November.
Number 7. Kale. Most people think kale is a spring vegetable. The gardeners who plant it in July and leave it in the ground through the first frost of fall are eating a completely different food by October. When temperatures drop below freezing, kale converts its stored starches into sugars, a survival response the plant has developed over centuries. The leaves that come after a frost are noticeably sweeter, more tender, and milder than anything the plant produced all summer. This is why restaurants charge more for autumn kale. This is why farmers market vendors sell out of it every fall. It is genuinely different, not just slightly improved. Plant kale now, and the summer heat does not hurt it. Kale handles temperatures that wilt most vegetables. It grows steadily through August and September, and then October arrives, the nights get cold, and the plant you planted in July becomes the best thing in your garden. Lacinato, also called dinosaur kale, and red Russian are the two varieties most consistently recommended for that fall harvest quality. Harvest outer leaves, leave the center. One plant produces through November, and in mild zones, well into December.
Number 8. Swiss chard. While spinach bolts, lettuce goes bitter, and most leafy greens wave the white flag by August, Swiss chard just keeps going. It handles summer heat better than almost any green available to American home gardeners. It handles the first light frosts of fall. It bridges the entire gap between summer and autumn without slowing down. One thing most people never figure out until they grow their own: charred leaves and charred stems are two separate ingredients in your kitchen. The leaves wilt quickly in a hot pan, exactly like spinach, ready in under 2 minutes. The stems need 4 to 5 more minutes of cooking on their own. Chop the stems away from the leaves when you harvest. Cook them first. Add the leaves at the end. One plant gives you 2 distinct textures and flavors from a single harvest. The rainbow or celebration variety, with stems in deep red, bright yellow, orange, and white, is one of the most visually striking vegetables you can grow in a summer garden. Plant it now. Harvest through November.
Number 9. New Zealand spinach. Traditional spinach cannot survive July. The combination of heat and long summer days causes it to bolt within days of germination. Most gardeners simply accept that spinach is a spring and fall crop and go without leafy greens all summer. New Zealand spinach, Tetragonia tetragonioides, is a completely different plant with a similar use. It is not technically the same species as traditional spinach. The flavor is mild, slightly earthier, and works identically in cooked dishes, sautéed, in soups, added to eggs. What it does that traditional spinach cannot: grow through July, August, and September in full summer heat without bolting. It spreads low and wide across the soil. It tolerates drought far better than any conventional leafy green. It produces continuously as long as you keep harvesting. Plant seeds now in warm July soil. Germination takes 10 to 14 days. Soak seeds overnight first to speed that up. Pick the tender growing tips regularly. The more you harvest, the more the plant branches and the more it produces. It is the summer leafy green most American gardeners have never tried, and most wish they had found sooner.
Number 10. Beets. Most Americans have eaten beets from a can. That experience, sweet but slightly metallic, soft, uniformly flavored, has nothing in common with a beet pulled fresh from the ground. A beet harvested at exactly the right size, roasted or eaten raw the same day, is earthy and rich and sweet in a way that makes people understand for the first time why anyone grows them. July-planted beets take 55 to 70 days to mature, ready in late September and October when cool temperatures have naturally sweetened the roots. The harvest window is specific. Pull beets when the shoulder of the root, the top part visible at the soil surface, is between 2 and 3 inches across. Past that point, the texture becomes woody and fibrous, and the sweetness fades. The window is real. Respect it. Chioggia beets, the Italian variety with pink and white rings inside, are among the most searched and most visually striking beet varieties available right now. Cut one open and it looks like it belongs in a magazine. Plant them now and you will have something genuinely beautiful to pull out of your garden this fall.
Number 11. Arugula. Prepackaged arugula at the grocery store is almost always older than it looks. Arugula begins losing its volatile compounds, the ones responsible for its signature peppery flavor, within 24 to 48 hours of harvest. By the time it reaches a store shelf, most of that flavor is gone. What is left is a flat, slightly bitter green that gives most people an inaccurate picture of what arugula actually is. Fresh arugula, cut and eaten the same day, has a bright, clean, peppery bite with a slight nuttiness underneath that disappears almost immediately after harvest. For July growing, one management habit matters above everything else: harvest small. Baby arugula leaves, 2 to 3 inches long, are mild, bright, and genuinely delicious. Full-size mature leaves are intensely peppery and bitter enough to overwhelm most dishes. Harvest at 21 to 25 days. Cut with scissors. Leave the roots. New leaves grow back from the base within 10 to 12 days. Plant a small patch every 2 weeks and you have continuous, mild, fresh arugula from late summer through fall.
Number 12. Turnips. Turnips have an image problem in America, and it comes from one thing. Most people have only ever eaten large, old turnips. A turnip left in the ground past its prime becomes starchy, fibrous, and aggressively sharp. That version is what most Americans know. Here is what they are missing. Pull a turnip at golf ball size, roughly 2 inches across, and it is a completely different vegetable. Mild, slightly sweet, crisp enough to eat raw. More like a radish than what most people picture when they hear the word turnip. And that is only the first harvest. Turnip greens, the leafy tops, are edible from day 30 onward, a full 2 to 3 weeks before the roots are ready. They cook exactly like mustard greens, slightly peppery, tender, and packed with nutrients. One planting of turnips gives you greens in a month and roots in 6 to 7 weeks. 2 separate vegetables from one packet of seeds. Hakure, the Japanese salad turnip, is the variety that has introduced more skeptics to turnips than anything else available in America right now. It is smooth, white, and genuinely mild raw. Find it at specialty seed suppliers or online. Plant now for roots and greens through September and October. Number 13. Collard greens. Collard greens are the toughest leafy vegetable available to American home gardeners. Tougher than kale, hardier than chard, more cold tolerant than almost anything else you can plant in a summer garden. In Zone 7 and warmer, which covers the entire American South, much of the Mid-Atlantic, the Pacific Coast, and parts of the Midwest, collards planted in July produce fresh leaves straight through fall and into early winter. The first frost does not end them, it improves them. The same starch-to-sugar conversion that sweetens kale works in collards too, but goes even deeper. In Zones 5 and 6, a hard freeze in November will eventually end the season, but not before you have had 2 to 3 months of the best collard greens of the year. Space plants 18 inches apart. They get large. Harvest the lower outer leaves first. The plant keeps producing upward from the center for months after your first cutting.
One collard plant planted in July produces more greens than most families can keep up with from September through whatever your first hard freeze brings.
Number 14. Scallions, green onions. Most gardening content focuses on plants that take months to produce. Scallions, green onions, are in a completely different category. Push seeds into warm July soil today. Sprouts appear in 7 to 10 days. Scallions ready to harvest in 60 days. Some baby scallions even sooner. They do not need much space. A 6-inch wide strip along the edge of a bed holds enough scallions to supply a kitchen for months. The harvest method most people skip: do not pull the whole plant. Snip the green tops with scissors about an inch above the soil surface. The base stays in the ground. New tops grow back in 10 to 14 days. One planting in July gives you 2 full cuttings, sometimes 3 if the weather stays mild through fall, before the plant finally needs replacing. Fresh scallions on eggs, in salads, on grilled meat, having them steps from your kitchen door on demand all through late summer and fall is one of those small things that makes home gardening feel genuinely worth it.
Number 15. Brussels sprouts. This is the one I have been building toward. Brussels sprouts need 80 to 100 days to reach harvest. Plant them in July, harvest in October and November. Wait until August, they will not finish before frost in most of the country. Wait until September, the season is over for Brussels sprouts in nearly every U.S. region. July is not a suggestion for this vegetable. It is a hard deadline. In zones 3 through 6, the upper Midwest, New England, the mountain states, start seeds indoors right now and transplant seedlings out in 2 to 3 weeks. The July heat will not hurt the transplants as long as you water consistently through establishment. In zones 7 and warmer, the Mid-Atlantic, the South, the Pacific Coast, direct sowing in the garden works. Now here is the part that changes how most Americans think about this vegetable. The Brussels sprouts most people have eaten were harvested weeks ago and shipped cold. Fresh Brussels sprouts, cut from the stalk in your own garden after the first hard frost of November, have a natural sweetness and a nutty depth of flavor that the grocery store version simply does not have. Cold triggers the same starch-to-sugar conversion that sweetens kale and collards. In Brussels sprouts, that conversion is dramatic. A sprout hit by a November frost tastes genuinely different from anything that ever came out of a freezer bag. This Thanksgiving, while everyone else opens a bag from the freezer aisle, you will be going into the backyard and cutting a full stalk of fresh Brussels sprouts that you planted in July. That moment is worth planting this week.
15 vegetables. 15 reasons your garden does not have to stop producing until November takes it from you. The soil is warm, the days are still long, and every seed you put in the ground this week is a harvest you would have missed entirely if you had stopped in June like most gardeners do. Pick one today. Start there. Which one is it? Drop it in the comments and add your zone if you know it. Someone gardening in your exact climate is reading those comments right now. Subscribe for what comes next.